Okay, so let us start with today's topic. It is oscillating discontinuity first of all, and don't mind the background that is going to change a lot of times. So let's begin. First of all, oscillating discontinuity. Let us start with the graph. You can clearly see this graph, the region here, this region which I am marking. The value of the function is oscillating between two fixed values. For instance, here it is 1 and -1. So this is going up, down like this. Clear? So seeing the nature of this graph, we can say that there is a oscillating discontinuity because we cannot literally determine what the value of the function near this region. Fine. Now see the function. The function is fx equal to sine 1 by x if x is not equal to 0 and 0 if x equal to 0. So what we have to do? We have to see if the function is continuous or not at x equal to 0. First condition is that 0 should belong to the domain. Yeah, 0 is there in the domain. It is clear from this. And next is LHL and RHL should be equal to 0 for x equal to 0. Now from this function or graph, we cannot determine what the value of LHL and RHL is. Near about 0 means 0 minus and 0 plus. We cannot exactly determine that is. And forget about comparing with 0 equal to or not. So this kind of discontinuity is called oscillating discontinuity. Fine, let's move ahead. Here there are two important points. One is this: fx is equal to x to the power n sine 1 by x when x not equal to 0 and 0 x equal to 0. Nearly similar format to the above thing. Here there is x to the power 0. So here what I have considered, n belongs to 0 to 1. 0 is no more included. 0 is open, 1 is closed. So 1 is included. So what I want to say here is that this function is continuous and non-differentiable when n belongs to 0 to 1. 0 open, 1 closed. Why so? Let's see the explanation. It is just below there. First of all, let us check the continuity. So limit h tends to 0, h sine 1 by h is going to be 0. So it is going to be, it has LHL and RHL both equal to 0 and hence it is going to be equal to that. So LHL equal to RHL equal to value of the function at x equal to 0. So this is continuous. Fine. Now how to check differentiability? Differentiability is defined as fh minus 0 by h minus 0. You should be remembering. So f0 is 0. So what remains is this thing. We have to find limit h tends to 0, h power n sine 1 by h. Now simplify this, limit h tends to 0, h to the power n minus 1 sine 1 by h. Now this is limit h tends to 0 sine 1 by h to the power 1 minus n. Now clearly n is a value between 0 and 1. So let's say n to be somewhat like 0.5. So sine 1 by h by root over of h, for instance. And we don't know that value. Clear? So we cannot say about differentiability, so it is going to be non-differentiable. Now this differentiability I would be teaching in detail in the next chapter. Is differentiability. Just as a glance to comment about differentiability, or to say if, or just as a fact you can say, this function, this special function, these two functions that I'm considering here, I'm commenting about that non-differentiability or differentiability. Basically I should be doing it in the next chapter, but this is related, that's why. And you can visit this lecture again after understanding differentiability, which would be covered in, I guess, 3 to 4 in 3 to 4, after 3 to 4 videos. No issues there. So remember how to find the difference, if the function is differentiable or not at a point. So you can take limit h tends to 0, f of h minus f of 0 by h minus 0. So this is checking at x equal to 0 if it is differentiable or not. For other points, we would see later how to do that. Fine. Let us move ahead. Okay. The next thing that comes is fx x power n sine 1 by x not equal to 0. Similar function, means the same function, only the n value is open 1 to infinity. This is going to be continuous and differentiable. How it is continuous? You can see from here, the same argument. But how it is differentiable? So what we have to do is h to the power n sine 1 by h. So f of h minus f of 0 by h minus 0, limit h tends to 0. So this is f of h. So h to the power n sine 1 by h, and where n is greater than 1, so it simplifies to limit h tends to 0, h n minus 1 sine 1 by h. Now clearly this n minus 1 is greater than 0. For instance, h to the power 0.5, h to the power 1, h to the power 2, something like this, which and multiplying it with a finite quantity, because sine 1 by h is going to remain between minus 1 and 1, whatever may be the value of h. Therefore, this value is going to tend to 0. And in the previous example, what it was, this value was going to be somewhat like n is between 0 to 1. So it is 0.5, let's say n value. So 0.5 minus 1 is going to be h to the power minus 0.5 sine 1 by h. So what I was saying there, sine 1 by h by root h. So this becomes root h when n is, let's say, 0.5. Fine. And sine 1 by h by root h, where h tends to 0, this is going to be finite quantity, but the denominator is somewhat tending to infinity. So we can say that clearly it is non-differentiable. Let us move ahead. So what I have covered is oscillating discontinuity, and I have covered, you can see, fx equal to sine 1 by x, fx equal to x power n sine 1 by x, and two cases when n belongs to 0 to 1, and the second case is when n is greater than 1. Clear? Okay. Next. So next is properties of continuous function. These are extremely simple. So if, let's say, a function fx is continuous at x equal to a, then we can say that k, where k is a constant, real constant, so k into fx plus k, we are considering real function, so k we are taking real, k into fx plus k are continuous at x equal to a. How we can say that? Just by graph transformation. You can see the importance of graph transformation here. K into fx, so it is, the value is just going to be multiplied, so the neighborhood of the value x equal to a is also going to be multiplied k times, so it is going to remain continuous. And fx plus k, how it is going to be continuous? Because we are just shifting of the graph. The graph is just going to be shifted up. You remember the transformation? This is just shifting of the graph. Therefore, this is going to be also continuous because the neighborhood value is also going to be shifted by the same value. So this is clear. And the next is fx and gx both are continuous at x equal to a. Then fx plus gx, fx minus gx, fx into gx will also be continuous. This is also in the same argument because this is continuous, this is continuous. So near about a, these two functions are continuous. So adding the values, they would be going up or down somewhat, but overall they would still remain continuous. You can check by taking like fx equal to x plus 1 and gx equal to x plus 2, add them to x plus 3 just to verify. Similarly for fx minus gx, fx into gx. The problem comes is when it is f by z. What is the problem in f by g? Let's say this is continuous and this is continuous, but the problem is if this g value is 0 at x equal to a, so this makes a problem. Clear? Next is intermediate value theorem. This is one of the important theorems, so you should understand it clearly. And this is going to be the last topic, I guess, for today, because I have said this is a short chapter anyway. Let us start. Intermediate value theorem, IVT. So the statement is if f is continuous, in a to b, where a and b are both included, and fa into fb is less than 0, this is one important condition, then at least one x exists in open a to b such that fx is going to be equal to 0. Means there is at least one root. You can clearly see this is one black graph and this is one reddish type of graph, reddish or brownish. So here is the root, clearly you can see, and here is the root for the brown graph. Clear? So this is continuous. Let's consider the blue one. F is continuous in a to b. How to check continuity at a? If you remember, we have to just check the right continuity. So at a, what is the value? A plus, also the same value, so it is right continuous. At b also you can see whatever the value of function is at b, it is also the same at b minus, so it is going to be left hand continuous. Thus, and it is continuous in between for any c belongs to a to b. Therefore, this function f is continuous in closed a to b. That should be verified first of all. Now you can see f of a into f of b is less than 0. Clearly, one is positive, one is negative. Then the statement says that then at least one x exists such that f of x equal to 0 in a to b. Clear? Now let us see one corollary to this. If f is also differentiable between a to b, so this is might be confusing differentiability, but just bear with me. You would understand this differentiable and all these terms in upcoming lectures. Differential between a to b open, then fx equal to 0 has odd number of roots between a and b. Clear? See this non-differentiable, you can say if there is a sharp turn or there is flatness, there is some sharp turn you see in the graph, you can clearly say that that is the point of non-differentiability. Okay, you can see this is always smooth. Differentiability basically comments about the smoothness of the graph. So this is always smooth, and this radius one also is always smooth. So there you can see for the radius one there are three. For this one you can see there are three roots, and for this bluish blackish one graph you can say there are one roots. So if it is differentiable between a and b, then fx equal to 0 has odd number of roots. Yeah, that is true, because if it goes down and it is smooth, then it has to go up and then come down. So it should have at least, means the parity of the number of roots is going to be odd. Clear? Because if it shoots down once and then it has to go up, then it has also to come back down. It cannot just stay flat or take a sharp turn. But if f is not differentiable, we cannot comment about the parity of the number of roots. Why is this so? Because you see this graph, this is not different because there is a sharp turn at this point. You can clearly see there is a sharp turn at this point. The line is getting thick, but okay, this point there is a sharp turn. So you can clearly say that that point is the point of non-differentiability. This point, fine. But you can see there is one root. Okay, that is fine. Now let us see one thing. The next graph is, here you can see there is 2 points of non-differentiability, but still there are one and there is repeated root. So it is going to be, here it is 1, here you can say there is one root, and here you can say there are 2 roots. Total there are 3 roots. There is odd number of roots. Now you come to this graph. In this graph you can clearly see that we cannot comment about the parity of the roots. Why is this so? Because in this region between D to E, if you can, there is a bit of problem I think in the size of the, let me enlarge the size. Hopefully this is more clear now. You can see between D to E there is a flat line. So at D there is non-differentiability, at E there is non-differentiability, but there is a flat line between D to E. So we cannot argue how many number of roots are there between D to E, but they all are roots. You can take any point between D and E and put it into the graph of f. You say that okay, that's fx equal to 0. So the statement is, if f is non-differentiable, we cannot comment about the parity of the number of roots. Okay, so I covered 3 important things here. One is intermediate value theorem, properties of the continuous function, and one more thing is oscillating discontinuity. Fine, so let's stop here for today, and in the next class I would cover some important things, like there is one more theorem especially for onto functions. We would cover that in the next class, and I would cover some more problems.